the whole time.
But I don't know what it's called.
Before that, they
Alright, you're all
would
set.
do twist caps that go into your skin.
Okay.
It's
I'd
like
like to call this caucus meeting to order. Before we get into it, I just want everybody to know that our audio and video for the regular meeting will, in fact, the equipment broke. Ryan ordered new stuff that's not ready, up and running, so when we get in there, we won't have audio or video. Okay? And then Dallas, once we get into committees, we got 3 pieces.
You got it.
Okay. I will be needing a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes dated June 22nd, 2022, except as prepared by the clerk. We got 4 pieces of communication. Questions or comments on communication? If none, Mayor's report. Mayor Miller.
I'm going to give my report on the floor.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for our mayor?
Mayor, I got 2 quick things.
Sure.
Resurfacing, I see it's on here. Are you going to address that out there? Or do you have just some type of start date that you could think of that you think they'll be starting?
Yep, we met with Canfield, the city of Canfield, and the village of Poland last week. We went out there with Gary Diorio and MS, and we had a rather large meeting. Their projected start date is October 3rd. However, that's their last date. They're fairly certain they can get it done well before then, but that is their absolute last start date is October 3rd.
So that, we're only a few weeks away.
Right, yeah, and there were questions about the order, about who was going first, whether it was gonna be Canfield or Poland Village or Sruthers, and they're not going to say who's going first yet, because they're gonna just play it by ear and see how everything goes, but our project is larger than both of the other communities, so we're anticipating we may last because we're closer to their location too, so within the next few weeks. And we're gonna notify everybody of that too, as soon as we know when they're starting. They're gonna give us about a 2-day leeway. I'll send out the text message, update everything on social media, get it out to the news, so that way they know to clear their cars off the streets.
Okay. Cool. One other thing. Nick's department store demo. Where do we stand as far as reimbursement from that grant?
So,
We paid for it. We leaned the property, the cost that we paid for the demo. So now we have to wait to see if they pay their taxes. So you got a whole year that you're gonna wait to see if the taxes get paid. They got a year to pay the taxes. If they do not pay their taxes, then we can ask for a foreclosure on the property for the amount that we cost us in the demo.
and then the county's gonna reimburse.
And then, once we get possession of the property, then the county will reimburse us the money.
Okay. So up to a year roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tax wise.
Well, it may be, it's gonna be a year before we can start the process of foreclosure. Okay?
And that is it?
Any other questions, comments for the mayor? Okay, we're gonna go into standing committees. Dallas, you wanna convene your,
Yeah, I'd like to call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Bayes.
I'm here.
Mr. Ballard here. Got 3 pieces we need to add to the agenda for this evening. I'll start with the first one. An ordinance authorizing the auditor to transfer the sum of $10,000 from the 2022 general fund budget category 100, 9100, 59003, transfer to elderly van, to the revenue category 2650000 47101 and declaring an emergency. This is from the auditor. Any note on it?
We do this every year.
Yes.
Okay. Motion.
I'll make a motion to bring it on. I'll second that.
Okay. Number 2. An ordinance authorizing the auditor to transfer the sum of $50,000 from the 2022 general fund budget category, transfer to fire pension 100 9100 59005 to the fire pension fund number 81000047101 and declaring an emergency. Also from the auditor. Motion to bring it, or do we need to know anything? Anybody got any questions on this? Motion to bring it out.
I'll make a motion to bring it out. I'll second that.
And the third piece. An ordinance authorizing the auditor to transfer the sum of $100,000 from the 2022 general fund budget category transfer to police pension number 100-9100-59004 to the police pension fund number 805-000-47101 and declaring an emergency. Need a motion to bring it out.
I'll make a motion to bring it out.
Need a second.
Second that.
There's nothing else for this finance and legislation. Call for adjournment.
Motion. Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay. Going back into standing committee, anybody got committee meetings for
Yeah, I
21st?
got finance and legislation at 6 o'clock for September 21st.
Anybody else? Okay, legislation, we have 6 pieces, or we got 6 ordinances and 3 resolutions. Any questions or comments on our legislation tonight? None, unfinished business. New business? Who these guys laughing? Should have had all kinds of stuff here today. Report our law director, John. No report. Questions or comments for our law director? Our auditor's not here. Bob?
All right, just bring you up to date on our fiber optics that's going through town. So they've started digging in. We had a pre-construction meeting today about it. They're gonna work probably in sections wherever they can get the lines marked, they'll move on. It's a different company. We got good contacts with Restoration. If you look through their folder, they have a copy of our ordinance as far as restoration goes on streets and everything else is like the second or third page is a copy of our ordinance. So they're aware of what they have to do. Most of the work will be done in the devil strips, but they've already cut Frank Street and it looks like they've done a good restoration on it, so we shouldn't have any problems.
They know about our center line rule.
Yep, they actually have a copy of the ordinance, and they met with Mr. Noble today, our street superintendent, and they know they have to contact him. So it's gonna be moving on, so this section will be done soon, and then next year it'll be somebody else's problem, because they're gonna progress into Poland and all the way out.
Hey Bob, are they gonna be digging any other streets in the city?
It's coming, it's starting at the north end of the city at 616 at the north end. Actually, it's starting up in Camel on Roosevelt, and they're coming down. So, but for our aspect, they'll be starting at the north end of the city. They come all the way down 616 to Sexton Street, up Sexton to Walnut, across Walnut, and then all the way up Maplewood to Youngstown Poland Road, down south on Youngstown Poland Road to Spring Street. That's this current project. And then probably next year they'll go from Spring Street all the way into 224 in Poland.
Okay. The reason why I was commenting on that is, everybody knows I drive school bus now. We had a situation where the bus couldn't go down the road and we had to leave the kids off on 616. So if we get an advance notice somehow to...
That was brought up during our pre-construction meeting about buses, so, and they feel that they have to suspend work during those 2 times, so accommodate kids or buses or traffic, they're willing to do that.
I just think if they give us a notice saying, hey,
And I
this
think they
street's
will.
gonna be closed.
Yeah.
You could reroute the bus schedule.
Reroute the bus.
They will not close any streets without our prior knowledge.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for Bob?
Oh, maybe I do.
I also just want to mention a little bit, it's still a ways off, our Elm Street project. It's a sidewalk and resurfacing from Terrace all the way to 5th Street. They're estimating the cost at $517,000, all right? So Tuesday we're gonna go begging for some more money. So we're hoping to get a $332,000 from OPWC. And then it looks like our local share possibly could be only $34,000. If we get the funding that we're gonna go begging for,
Yeah.
all right?
And the project will be suspended if you don't get the funding, I assume?
Our costs might go up, but, you know, depending on how much funding they give, it depends on how much cost. And that's estimated, and then we're estimating the cost of asphalt at $3. And right now, this current year's project is $2.30. So we got a kind of a high estimate, just to make sure we can cover everything. The projected finish date is August of next year, all right, with the contract being signed somewhere in April. Because this is an ODOT project, their fiscal year runs different than our fiscal years. So that will be bid out in April and then finished by August.
So is Center Street part of that?
Center Street is part of the same PID number, so it'll be Elm Street. Elm Street is a little bit bigger because we're also doing sidewalks on Elm Street. Center Street is just a resurfacing, so it's not, it will be in here, but it's not part of this cost.
We got
Okay.
going along with this, we got the TAP grant as well to do the
Right.
sidewalks. So it's a little bit of a bigger project in the center.
Yeah, Elm Street won't be near this cost, because this is sidewalks also. There will be a couple trees removed that are impeding the sidewalks and a lot too. Like she said, we got the TAP grant for that.
We have 3 minutes
Did
next
we ever
week to
get
prove our
that-
case.
The tree program going, because I have a couple properties in the Nebo area that the trees are overgrown.
Well,
Curves.
it's something we're basically going to constantly look at, trying to get funding to remove hazardous trees in our devil strips and repair sidewalks. So wherever we can get the money from to do whatever section of town we can do, we're gonna do it. It's something we never stop looking for.
We also have an ordinance too, so we need to make sure that people aren't replanting.
On the devil
The
strip.
devil strip we still have an 11-foot easement from curb.
Right.
So we need to make sure they're not planting in that either, that could damage
Well,
sidewalks.
that was our tree ordinance we passed last year,
Yeah.
that the size of the tree will be limited by the distance from the road and everything else. Now, any questions?
Well, this is an ongoing question, but I've been approached obviously a couple of times, but timeline on the fire station.
Okay, we met with the fire station today also.
What's been-
So the problem with the fire station happening right now is the way it's designed, they have to lay so many block, then they have to bring in the steel, and then they have to do some more block, and then they have to put a pad. Well, once you bring your bricklayers out, they lay your block, and then they gotta leave until the steel was laid. And then it's harder to get them back on a job because once you send them out, they go to another job, so then you gotta schedule them to come back to this job. And that's why it doesn't seem like there's activity going on up there sometimes.
Right. That's the major question.
But once we get past that point, they said, once we get into the lumber, get past the cement and we get into the wooden section, that's only one contractor, it'll go up real quick.
How far is that along then with the?
I don't think it's too far. They're getting really close to pouring the last couple pads. They can't pour the bay pad because they gotta pour the mezzanine. So everything's in steps. You know, so once they get the mezzanine poured, then they can pour the pad on the bottom. But as far as the actual construction goes, we just did change order number 3, which cost us $5,000, and that was a big one. The one before that was only a couple hundred or something. So it's going along really well as far as the design goes. It's just a little bit slower than what we anticipated.
Is there any more for respect to change orders coming along, or?
That was our big
That
one.
was the big one. There was a $3,000 change order in that one, but we don't foresee any other major change orders. Now, once we get into, they are having trouble with some supplies, but what they were saying at the last meeting was it took them a while to find specific items, but they did find them, so we're moving along. The items are 6 to 8 weeks out, but we're ordering them now, and we're not expecting to need them until like 10 weeks out. So it will move along. It looks like it's slow, but it is moving along, and it is basically on, I think $5,000, we're actually on budget pretty well. There was a couple of items that got reduced because they had to go to a different project that was, a different item that was cheaper and things like that. It looks like nothing's happening, but there's a lot happening.
Well, obviously,
Okay.
you don't know the tax.
Yeah.
What's going on with everything else and whatnot, and, hey, what's going on with this fire station? We passed this stuff years ago and something's happening, so. Plus, you know, start working out of there too, so.
I have a question. I've gotten a couple complaints about people not taking care of their pools. I don't know if there's something that we can cite them for that we already have.
The biggest thing we do with pools, if the pool is left to be green or it looks like it's going to attract mosquitoes, we call in the health department,
Okay.
okay? The health department has tablets that they can throw into the pool to prevent the mosquitoes, and then they can also, health department has, already has all the ordinance and legislation that they need to
Okay.
deal with the pools.
Okay, so we don't have to take pictures or anything like that for our,
No, if we find one, we'll call the health department out, they'll
Okay.
come out and inspect it, and then they'll send me a report, along with the property owner, they send them a report, and they'll send me a report also on the
because they would
results
have
of it.
to go on the property to put tablets in the pool and have permission,
Right.
correct? Okay.
Right.
There's
Well, they
also
don't necessarily have
forms.
to have permission to prevent the mosquitoes. If the pool
Okay.
is a breeding ground for mosquitoes, they can treat that right away,
Okay,
all right?
good to know.
There's forms on their website too,
Yes.
where anybody from the community can go
It's-
on and fill those out.
The health
For
department's
requests.
jurisdiction's a little different than ours, our property code jurisdiction.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of property, property names, did we post a job opening for
We
that?
did not post, we have 5 interviews on Friday.
Right, we're
Five on
doing,
Friday.
we're doing some interviews.
Okay.
And it is slowing us down, because I don't, obviously, I'm working on this project and a few other projects, so my time that I dedicate to property code maintenance is really limited, but I'm trying to do my best.
We're trying to, between the both of us and Taylor, I know I went out with an officer last week and this week, and we drove around and we issued some citations, and Taylor's taking care of the letter part of it, but we're trying to,
So
For the time being.
what we can, and so when I get a call for, say, rats or something like that, I don't have the expertise to check for rats. Health department does, so we automatically transfer that over to a health department report. And then they get back to us and they'll send me a notice of what their findings were. All right?
Just do me a favor, don't forget about them trash cans.
I will. I will.
Okay?
I mean,
Because there's kids that go there
Right.
every day walking, and they've been out there, it's gonna be almost a month now.
like I said, I'll knock on the door again, and I will try to find out who owns it and get them a letter.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our safety director? If none, need a motion to adjourn caucus.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Ronnie second. Caucus is adjourned.